Well, hello there, everybody. This is Mark Ittleman, speech-language pathologist and author of The Teaching of Talking, welcoming you to these classes. Hey, Joe, these classes that we've been doing all month. Can you believe that? Hey, Raymond. Yeah, we've been doing these classes all month, every day just about, with the exception of Saturday and Sunday. And tonight I have a wonderful class for you, jam-packed with information about dysarthria and about speaking difficulties. Hi, Juanetta, how are you? It's so good. It's so good. Hey, and I'm home. Look at this. No car. Oh, my goodness. I'm at home in my motorhome, and we're right near, we have good internet signal, so I can transmit right from here in my own home. Look at me. I'm in a training outfit and a turtleneck, and I'm right at home, comfortable, just like I hope all of you are. And, that's another great thing about the technology today is that you could have your speech therapy right online if you find the right therapist to work with you. And you could pretty much wear whatever you want. So, welcome. Welcome to the Teaching of Talking, and welcome to this Dysarthria class. And my name is Mark Ittleman. I'm a speech-language pathologist. I've been practicing speech pathology going on 46 years. Oh, my goodness. And for 46 years, I've been working with people just like you. I've been working with people with aphasia. I've been working with people with speaking difficulties, in those little rooms with the table, and you go in and you shut the door. I'm the guy that worked with children, with adults, people with aphasia for almost 46 years. Now, I'm not a researcher. And there are a lot of researchers out there who really are quite good at what they do, but many of them don't have the clinical experience. And they said, well, where's your research? And I said, well, my research, besides the fact that we've done papers on the teaching of talking, my research is being in a room with a person with aphasia or being in a room with a person who's got a speaking difficulty and doing the trial and error work. What can I do to help this person talk better? And I went through a bunch of different stuff, and I went to training, and I went to education, and after a while, you figure it out. You throw away what you don't want, you throw away what you don't think works, and you keep what does work. And that's what we've done with the Teaching of Talking. So welcome. And it's so great to see people like Michelle Wilson-Fretwell. Oh my goodness. She is some kind of woman. I've been watching and following her posts for years. And I had the wonderful experience of working with Michelle for a number of years in Houston. And there's Kathy Damery, and gosh, there's just like a whole lot of great people on the call. So this is about dysarthria. Let's get to it, okay? Let's just get right down to it. So, dysarthria. It's slurred speech. It's a big $10 word, which means slurred speech. And it's a motor problem. And many of you who've been on the calls with me during the month are now learning about motor speech problems. They're not language problems. They're not trying to think of the words, like when words escape you. That's not what dysarthria is about. Dysarthria is a motor problem. Motor. It deals with the tongue. It deals with the tongue and the roof of the mouth. It deals with the tongue and the base of the throat. And, when we speak with our motor speech, the researchers say that speaking is the most complex, most highly coordinated act that a human being can do, to articulate all those words and to say all the things about your neighbor, and to gossip a little bit here and there, or to teach a little bit here and there, or to talk to your loved one in intimate situations and in all kinds of situations. So speaking is a very, very highly coordinated activity. All right. And for you to sound really good when you speak, that motor has to be working really, really well. And it has to be, like going on all 8 cylinders, or like how we talk today on 6 cylinders, or how we are today on 4 cylinders. Okay. So a motor speech has to be accurate and has to be just in tune. Now, what happens? There's my wife, Malka. That means I've got to be on my best behavior. So what happens when the motor speech mechanism takes a hit? So individuals have a stroke. Some of them lose their ability to use language, and that's the aphasia part. That's the loss of language, both in expression or writing or reading or comprehending what you hear. That's the aphasia part. But tonight we're talking right now about the motor part. So the motor, again, is this. And with dysarthria, when a person goes to talk, it's kind of like, okay. It's not really all that coordinated. It's sometimes kind of slurred, kind of like this, it's kind of slur. It's kind of like if you go down south, kind of like that. All right. So it's slurred, and it's like an individual has just had a fifth of Jack Daniels. You know how it was in high school or in college or wherever you were, if you had a next door neighbor who you liked to tip the glass, you know what I mean? What he sounded like after he had too many. It's like a dysarthria. And hey, Gerald, and we got a whole lot of cool people online tonight. Yeah, Judy and Maka, and oh my goodness, Jeff is here, and he goes, oh my gosh, what's he talking about? All right, so the guy in high school, or your neighbor, or you went to the Christmas party and somebody came and maybe they were drinking too much and their speech was very slurred. Now, that's called a dysarthria. And it sounds like a person's actually drunk. And there have been a lot of people who've had dysarthria who have been pulled over in a car by the police and were speaking with their dysarthria, and the police gave them breathalyzer tests and had them walk a line because their speech sounded so slurred. Well, what do we know? We know that slurring of speech is one of the first signs of a stroke or aphasia, and we know that slurring of speech is a motor problem, and it's called dysarthria. So I've got some great things to share with you tonight. So it's associated with a part of the brain that's called the cerebellum. The cerebellum. Doesn't that sound great? A cerebellum. And the cerebellum takes a hit. And the cerebellum cannot send those rapid signals that it needs to send to the motor, to the tongue, and to the throat. And it sends those signals much, much slower. And so what happens is you get slurred speech, articulation, the ability to speak lacks preciseness. It's not precise. It's more slurred. It's not accurate. The movements aren't accurate, especially the tongue. the tongue just doesn't make those fine movements that it should. And what happens? Slurred speech is a result. Now, when we speak, we have a program in the brain, and the program in the brain has a program just for the speed of speaking. So what happens is that you have a speed of speaking, I have a speed of speaking, we all have a speed of speaking. Now what happens when you have a dysarthria, the speed of speaking is still programmed in the brain. So you're going to still speak at the same speed you always did. But the problem is the motor can't keep up. And so what happens when the program in the brain that knows that you should speak at a certain speed, it's kind of doing its job, but the cerebellum is not sending the signals to the tongue, and guess what? The tongue can't keep up. It's slacking. It's a slacky. The tongue slacks. It slacks in speed and it slacks in movement. And what do you get? You get slurred speech. Hey, Diana. Hey, Patty Hill. And that's what dysarthria is. And again, speech sounds like you've just had too many. And that's a dysarthria. And that's a motor speech difficulty. Hey, Ray. Good to see you, Ray. Okay. Now, I was working in Houston. I think I told you just very briefly. I was sitting at my desk working with a patient there, and I could hear in the gym, in the physical therapy gym, because, I had my own office, because speech pathologists have their own office. And all of the people who are getting physical therapy, they're in this great big gym. So this guy walks in there, and he's talking like this. And it's loud, and it's slurred, and it's really weird. And he's like disturbing everybody. He's walking in there, and he's talking like that. And it's an explosive dysarthria, what he had. So I'm sitting there working with this person, and I'm hearing this guy speaking, and I went, he must be my next patient. So even though I'm working with this patient, my brain is already figuring out what I'm going to do to help this guy talk, because he sounds really weird. He's loud, and he's explosive, and he sounds terrible. All right. So he came in, and I finished up the visit and got ready for my next person. So the next person was this guy with this, what I would call an explosive dysarthria. And it was slurred, and it was explosively loud. And so I'm listening to the guy. And what I do when I listen to a person speak is I put it in my brain, and then I pretend that I'm him. Now, you got to be careful, because you don't want to get stuck there. But that's what I do is, hey, Gene, is I try and actually internalize the way that person is speaking. And then I start thinking, now, what would I need to do to sound normal? Because, man, this guy sounds really weird. So, I think, well, first thing I got to do is I got to tone this guy down. Man, he's loud. He's actually disturbing the whole place. And I had to think about something else. Now, what else would we have to do with this guy? Besides bringing his speed down, we'd have to kind of get him relaxed. I mean, he sounds... and he even looked that way when he spoke. So he walks into the room, And I introduce myself, go over and shake his hand. He sits down, and I stood up and I put my arm around his shoulder and I said, "We got some work to do." And I said, "The first thing I want you to do is I want you to relax." So I took my hands and I put them on his shoulders and just kind of, and I could feel all that tension all through his shoulders. And so I started kind of pushing down on his shoulders. And I said, "Man, I want you to relax, okay? We're going to have a good time here today. We're going to relax and we're going to be very, very, very comfortable. So once I got him comfortable, I didn't need to put him through a real detailed evaluation at the moment. I mean, what I wanted to know is, could I do anything for the guy? I mean, that's why people come to the speech pathologist. They want to speak better. And they want to know, hey, can you help me or not? Let's either or get off the pot. Okay, so we got him relaxed. And then I sat across from him and I said, "Hey, can you say a couple words with me?" And I just said some words very, very softly, very easily. I said, "Hey, can you say hi?" At first he went, "Hi!" No, I said, "Can you say hi?" And he said, "Hi!" And I said, No. So I got up and I kind of pushed his shoulders down again, and I got to say, "Man, we really got to work on you." So I said some words very, very softly to him, very, very, very softly. And within about 5 minutes, I had him speaking just some single words, and we were saying them very softly. And his voice was very soft, and his face wasn't all contorted anymore. And so he did really, really, really well that day. And so I did tests of what we call stimulability. And stimulability is the ability to see hey, can you do what I do? Can you say a word like I do? Can you speak at a loudness like I do? Can you hold your face like I do? And I just gave him a poker face, and that's called stimulability. Now, in aphasia therapy and in motor speech disorder therapy, stimulability is one of the most important assessments that a speech pathologist does, and you're learning how to do that yourselves. What you do is you say a word, or you say 2 words, or you say a vowel, and you ask the person to say it after you. It's not brain science. It's not aerospace engineering like my son Michael Adam is. It's just, hey, can you do what I do? And there's Helen from Australia. And Helen says she's got a room in her house for us to stay in, right, Helen? Because Malk and I want to go to Australia. Okay. And we want to lecture in Australia and help share the teaching of talking with the people over there. There's Gene. Gene and I had a great conversation the other day about his son. And so we want to see how well a person imitates. And so I figured out what this guy needed. He needed a soft voice. And I kept on giving him a soft voice and having him repeat after me until it was soft. In the beginning, it was really hard for him to do. And I made it real easy. We just started saying words. We started saying some numbers, maybe some letters. Can you do A? Can you do O? And we got him toned way, 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 way down. And plus, what I did is I demonstrated to him, I mimicked back to him the way he sounded. Because, a lot of people who have dysarthria, don't know that they're talking like they just had a fifth of Jack Daniels. They don't, sometimes they're just not aware of that. And this particular person with the explosive dysarthria, which is a loud, explosive, slurred talking at about 3 times the loudness of normal, you'd think that somebody would know that they were speaking too loud. But no, he just wasn't aware of that. So it's the awareness sometimes that people have who have difficulty speaking. They're not always aware of the way they're speaking. And it's not their fault. It's just the way it is. So then he became aware. And you know what I did? Every time I worked with him, the second he'd walk into the room, I'd start talking with him exactly the way I wanted him to speak. So here's the thing, and you guys got to really get this, and I hope you get it really, really well, is that if you're helping a person talk and you're at home, then what you need to do is to always model the kind of speech you want that person to use. Because unless you do, they're going to just keep speaking the way they are. They develop new habits right away. After a stroke, after aphasia, they start speaking in a certain way. They could perseverate. This one guy I worked with said bus stop all the time, or subway. No, it was subway, 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 subway. That's all he could say was subway, 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 subway. But yet nobody interrupted him. Nobody told him to say something else, so he just kept saying subway. So what I want to emphasize, and emphasize very, 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 very strongly, is that you have to speak the way that you want your loved one or the person you're working with to speak. So whatever the speech problem was of any person that I'd work with, I would immediately start talking exactly like I wanted them to speak with me. Hey, Susan. Hey, Miriam. My sister-in-law is even here. Oh my goodness. I didn't know she had a speech problem. Oh well. So that's like super critical. And these folks, they just only know the way that they're habitually speaking. They're in a habit and they don't know anything else after a stroke. They just speak in the way that they came out of the stroke. That's how they're talking. And guess what? You just can't take them to speech therapy twice a week or 3 times a week for 30 minutes or 45 minutes, which half the time, sometimes the therapist is late, sometimes the guy sitting next to you in the waiting room is sneezing all over you. Who knows what it is? But that's not going to do it. What's going to do it is a speech model that models the correct way of speaking at home and knows what to do. And that's why I wrote The Teaching of Talking. That's why I wrote the book. And that's why I made the audio book on audible.com. And that's why I made a video training course with all of the methods right in it so that anybody could learn it. I mean, The Teaching of Talking is the Home Depot of speech therapy, of speech and language stimulation for people with aphasia. It's the Home Depot. People wanted to fix their houses up and stuff, but some of them just couldn't hire somebody. They couldn't hire a carpenter. They couldn't hire a plumber. They couldn't hire certain people. So what somebody with a really good brain did is they figured, well, we'll create something like the Home Depot, and we'll teach you how to do it yourself. And that could be the best intensive speech therapy, speech and language stimulation program that you can possibly imagine. You're not going to have students working with you. You're not going to travel thousands of miles or hundreds of miles away to work with a stranger who doesn't know you and who doesn't allow the caregiver into the room. I mean, there are plenty of intensive programs all over the country, and they don't want the caregiver in the room. Now, to me, that's crazy. Because a caregiver or a care partner must learn this stuff. And if you don't learn this stuff, guess what? Progress is going to be minimal. Because, all of us forget, too. You teach somebody one thing and, 10 minutes later they can forget it. So that's another reason why we spend so much time with caregivers and train caregivers to do speech and language stimulation as well as I can. And I can give you a whole list of people who've been trained in the teaching of talking method who can stimulate speech and language elegantly. Okay. So that's about dysarthria. It's about slurred speech. It's about finding out the major characteristics of how to improve it. And next, I'm going to just share with you the two, probably the most critical aspects of how to improve speech with a person who's got dysarthria. Okay, so what do we know? We know that if a person tries to speak, the motor, at the speed where they always spoke, we know that the tongue can't keep up. It's like running a marathon with Roger Bannister. Roger Bannister, he did the 4-minute mile. It's like you or me trying to run against Roger Bannister years ago when he ran the mile. We can't keep up with that. What happens if we would try to keep up with that? We'd fall on our faces. Well, that's what happens with dysarthria. They try to speak it's not they try to speak, is they speak at the programmed speed where they've always talked, but the motor can't keep up, so speech goes to mush. So, if you say, well, Mark, how do I fix somebody with dysarthria? Well, one thing about it is that speed has to be modified. The speed has to be modified. Now, I used to work with so many people with dysarthria, and they'd walk into the room with the wife, and the wife would say to me, Mark, if he'd only speak slower, people could understand him. If I had a dollar for every time I heard a caregiver or a wife or a husband say that, I think I'd be a millionaire, and I'd probably be on the Caribbean somewhere. Okay? But it's not speed. It's not speed necessarily. Because if you ask a person with dysarthria to say a single word, whether it's 1 or 2 syllables, quite often that word will come out clearly. But where the problem lies is when they go to say a phrase or a sentence and they try to speak at that programmed speed, the tongue just can't do it. So what we need to do is teach them to speak like this. And when they do, guess what happens? The articulation of the words at the slow speed usually drastically miraculously improves. Because at a slower speed, the motor can operate better, but not at the speed that was the habit before. So we do two things. We bring the speed down and we separate each word. Now, this is what I want you to do. This is what I want you to do. You know, have you ever been somewhere where you saw, a great big flight of steps? Now, I want you to give me a heart or a thumbs up or something if you've ever been in a situation where you were going somewhere and you got there and you see this large flight of steps going up. All right? That was like Malka and I went to New York City, and we took a subway, and then we had to get out of the subway, and we had to walk up the steps to the street. So there must have been about 25 or 30 steps. Hey, Tony. Hey, Tracy. And so as you go up the steps, that's kind of like how we help people with dysarthria. It's a step by step. I want you to see yourself going up a flight of stairs and just going up to the top. And that's how we help people with dysarthria speak better. You have to break the speed pattern, and you have to develop something called latency. And latency is the space of time between each spoken word. Now, what I used to see therapists do, they say, oh, he's got a dysarthria. Well, we have to give him oral motor exercises. And for 30 minutes or 45 minutes or 50 minutes, the therapist would say, okay, stick out your tongue. You know, all kinds of weird gyrations like that. Now, in some cases, in profound cases, that may be necessary. But the research shows us that oral motor exercises are not helpful. You know, why work on something that's not helpful? If you want to improve speech, you have to work on speech. You know? If you're going to make a cake, you got to have ingredients to make the cake. All right? So it's not it's not the oral motor exercises, because usually, you know, I used to do the oral motor exercises and they'd always get tired. And there's no connection between oral motor exercises and speaking. There's no connection there. You want to improve speaking, work on speaking. Work on talking with the goals that are necessary. And you'll get plenty of exercise if you work on talking. You'll get the same amount of exercise, and it'll be something that's worth your time. I'll never forget, I had to observe some therapists, and they were doing oral motor exercises, and I was sitting in that dark room, you know, with the mirror. I think I fell asleep in like 4 minutes. Okay, I just couldn't do it. Just couldn't do it. Because it's not germane. It's not necessary. Okay. So Azael and Judy Carver Meyer, great to see you. So anyway, that's what we want. When we work with someone with dysarthria, we want intelligibility. Now, I want you to remember that $10 word, okay? Intelligibility. Hey, Rachel, intelligibility is when you hear somebody talk, you understand what they're saying. That's intelligibility. And that's the first thing that I want to work with anybody who's got a speaking difficulty. I want to get them to the point when they can say something and people understand what the heck they're saying. Okay? Now, when I wrote The Teaching of Talking, I'll never forget, I was sitting at my desk and I remembered this speech pathologist who wrote a speech therapy book. And it had a profound effect on me as a student. And in this book, in this speech therapy book, it was written by a guy by the name of Dr. Charles Van Riper. And man, he was the cat's meow. This cat walked around the University of Iowa, and he had a corduroy coat, and he smoked a pipe, and he stuttered. He was a speech pathologist and a very famous professor and a very famous teacher. And Dr. Van Riper said, you have a speech problem if somebody's listening more to how you're saying something than what you're saying. So they're listening more to how weird your speech sounds rather than to what you're saying. And he coined that as a speech difficulty. A speech difficulty is when somebody's listening more to the way you're speaking rather than what you're saying. And then in the next paragraph, listen to this now. In the next paragraph, he said, in architecture, there are tons of books on architecture, how to build a building. And he said, in medicine, there's numerous books on surgery and treatment. But he said, when it comes to speech therapy, there are very few books on the teaching of talking. Now, when I read that sentence, it was all over. I said, well, I'm going to be that guy, and I'm going to write that book, The Teaching of Talking. Okay. So, I think I've covered pretty well what I wanted to share with you about dysarthria. And it's a serious problem for a lot of people who have it. But something that's not so hard to fix. It's not so hard to fix. But the problem has been that many people are not trained in simple, easy methods to help improve it. They want to do electrical stimulation and they want to put electrodes in there. And then they want to put electrodes in your brain. And then they're saying, well, if we put electrodes in your brain and we put electrodes in your tongue, then maybe you'll talk better. Yeah, I think we should write a research paper on the use of electrodes to help people speak better. Please hold me back. Okay? So, it's not that. You just have to find simple ways to help people talk better. And that's all I got to say about that. Remember Gump? That's all I got to say about that. All right. So let's take some calls tonight. And let's share. And let's see what we can do to make some suggestions to some people to show you all how relatively easy speech and language stimulation really is. It's not rocket science. And remember, it's not going into a room and having the door close and you going to Walmart while your loved one is in the room, and in the room there's lightning and thunder and smoke and flames. That's not what speech therapy is. That's not what speech and language stimulation is. But a lot of people think, well, we just take them to the speech therapist. They go in the room, and all of a sudden, lickety-split and abracadabra, they're going to come out and they're going to be speaking like Socrates. But guess what? It ain't true. Unless that speech pathologist spends time with the caregiver, then it's very, very difficult to make good progress. Now, there's some people, and there's some people on this call who don't don't have a caregiver, who don't have a husband, who don't have people who don't have a wife or a husband. So we just have to help them as best as we can. But I'd still suggest that we find somebody to talk with you, and not in any of these conversation groups. You know, they're okay for the people who can talk pretty good. But for those of you who can't talk very good, you just sit there like a bump on a log while people are talking. To me, that's not necessarily good therapy. It's social for the caregiver, but has very little effectiveness for people with severe to profound speaking difficulties. And those are the people I love to work with, that I love to watch. And you know that guy I told you about with the explosive dysarthria? Every time I send out a note to my email list to send them an article or a blog, every single time I get a letter back from him, an email back from him, and he says, "Mark, I'll never forget what you did for me. You helped me talk again." And every time I send out an email to those of us who are on the list, I'll always get a letter back from him, as well as many other people. So it's wonderful. So we're going to invite somebody onto the call now. Let's see who's here. Hi, Kellyanne. Hi, Jennifer. Jennifer Stanton. Jennifer Stanton is there. Gosh, it's Jennifer. Let's see if Jennifer is on the call. I want to say hello to Jennifer. Oh, my goodness gracious. Guest request. Let's see if Jennifer Stanton is there. Jennifer Stanton, I worked with her when she was 3 years old, and now she's a mommy, and she had a severe speaking problem. And I worked with her when she was 3 years old in Winter Haven, Florida. Oh, my goodness. Oh, but I don't see her. I don't see her. Jennifer Stanton. Oh my goodness. That's when you know that's when you know you're that's when you know you're maturing. when you've worked with somebody who's like 3 years old and you help them speak again, and then they grow up to be these beautiful women. And then you grow up and you follow them, and they have children, and their children are growing up, and it's unbelievable. You go, where did the time go? Okay. So let's see who else is. I'm going to invite somebody else on the call, but Jennifer Stanton, oh, what a lovely, lovely, lovely woman. And, okay, so let's see who we're going to, let's see. Let's try somebody who, let's try Juanette. No, I can't try Juanette because she doesn't have, I can't connect with her because it says, how about, let's talk with Tammy. Me one time. And there's Ellen Jacobson. Boy, there's a blast from the past. Ellen and I went to high school together. I was in all the school plays. Okay, so let's see if Tammy's gonna be here, and Lisa wants to come. And Lisa, check your internet, please. Let's see, we lost somebody there. Let's try it again. Let's see if we can get Tammy again. I saw Tammy a minute, and then I clicked on her. I'm gonna try it one more time. We're gonna try Tammy. Okay, it says that it says the guest declined. Okay, so I don't know. Sometimes this internet's a little weird with Facebook. So let's see who else we're gonna speak to. I'm gonna speak to somebody who we haven't spoken to. Let's see, Lynn. Okay, let's see if we can get Lynn on the line. Isn't it great? There's light tonight, isn't there? Even though I was in the car, it was getting dark. Let's see if Lynn is coming on. I've chatted with Lynn a couple of times. Make sure your phone is horizontal, and make sure that your camera is on and that your microphone is on. And there are settings. By the way, you have to do this on a cell phone. You got to remember that. You got to do it on a cell phone or on an iPad. So let's see if we can get Lynn on. Usually there's about a 15 or 20-second delay before you come on automatically. And it says Tammy Straight is eating. Okay, well, we did Aphasia the other night, so we won't have to do you then, Tammy, because you're eating. We're sorry about that you can't come on the call. Let's see who else. Dorothy Marie, we spoke to you a couple of times. I want to speak to you, but let's see if there's anybody else that we haven't. How about Frank? Let's bring Frank on. Okay, honey? Oh well? Let's try Frank. We're going to try Frank. Frank's coming on.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Frank, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm excellent.
Good.
So what brings you on the call?
Well, I suffered from dysarthria.
Aha. Have you learned anything so far tonight?
Yeah, slow down.
Well, that's only one part of it.
All right.
What's the other part?
I don't know.
Okay. Now, take your hand.
Yeah?
Yeah. Now, repeat after me.
All right.
I will learn about latency.
I will learn about latency.
Perfect. Latency is separation between each word.
Latency is separation between words.
Great. Hey, you sound terrific.
Well, thank you.
With dysarthria, hey, Natalie, and there's Stephen. With dysarthria, you want to separate the words.
With dysarthria, you want to separate between words.
How's that?
Good.
How does your speech sound when you speak that way?
Not too bad.
Yeah, man. So that's the therapy for you. Okay?
Yeah.
And so you can do it. I've shown you a model and you can do that, but you need somebody to work with you.
All right.
So that you can speak like this.
Okay.
What do you need?
You need to speak like this.
Yes. You sound awesome.
Thank you, I think.
Oh yeah, man. So we'll speak again, okay? We're going to be on
All right.
we're going to be on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So make sure you show up for the class and we'll talk again, okay?
All right, thank you.
This was perfect. Terrific. Okay. Now you can read all the books. You can read all the books. And very few of them will ever talk about treatment. When I was a student in speech therapy school. We'd always raise our hand and say, when are we getting to the therapy? When are you going to teach us about the therapy? The therapy. We want to learn about the therapy. The therapy. Well, a lot of times they never got around to the therapy. They thought, well, we're going to get to it. We're going to get to it in a few lectures down the road. We're going to get to the therapy. But unfortunately, often, not in all cases, because there are some great professors who can speak about therapy. But in many cases, therapy, very rarely we ever get to it. The people ever get to it. All right? And I believe that therapy is probably one of the first things they need to teach. Okay, so Debbie Lohart is here. Oh my goodness. Juanetta McDonald wants to be in my video. Oh man, let's see if we can get her on. I'm going to try her one more time here, Juanetta. Up. You know, both on Lisa and Juanette, they have these little boxes with an X, and I don't know why those X's are there. I'm going to try to bring you on again, Juanetta, but there's a little X, and what I've usually found was that if you have an X by your name, that usually when you try to come on the Facebook Live, often it doesn't allow you on. So, but we want to talk to a bunch of people yet. We want to speak to at least 4 people, and we want to do some demonstrations or some other things like this. They didn't get to it. No, they didn't get to a lot of the therapy when it came to the therapy. Yeah, when are you gonna do the therapy? Okay. Uh, oh, looks like we've got somebody who's going to be coming on. Is this Juanetta? Oh, there you are. Good to see you.
How you doing?
I'm just doing perfectly now. I've been waiting for you. You know that.
I know.
I've been waiting to speak to
Hold on,
you.
okay?
Yeah, but make it quick because we've got some other people who want to be on the call, and I want to speak to you. Let's try to make sure that the camera stays real still, okay? So how's your speech?
Okay.
How's your speech coming along?
Oh, I'm fine. I'm fine.
Okay. And is anyone helping you with your talking?
My mom is here.
Hello,
Uh-huh.
Mark.
Move here.
Great.
There it is.
Okay, now, can you tell me what your mama's name is?
One that means
My name. He's asking for my name. What's my name? Bernadine. What is my name?
I
Bernadine.
can't hear you.
Listen to mom for a minute. What is mom's
Okay.
name? Now,
What is my name? My name.
Bernadine.
okay, very good. Now, can you say mama is Bernadine?
Mama is Bernadine.
Good. I love it when you say sentences. You know that? Now,
Yes.
can you tell me anything about your mama? Can you tell me anything about her?
She is really good.
She is really good. Excellent. And what is she good at?
Learning, uh, learning.
How about teaching?
She
teaches
is teaching
me.
and teaching and learning,
Helping
helping
me.
in the
Me.
in
Okay, hold on, hold on,
and
hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Now, we're going to show you another way to stimulate language because that's not going to work.
yes, I know.
Okay, now, Bernadine, you there?
I am.
Okay, now we want to stimulate 3-word phrases. Okay? Okay, so,
Okay.
Juanetta, where are you? I want to
I'm
see
right
you. I want
here.
to see you. So, is mom a teacher?
Yes, she is.
Yes, she is.
Now look at me. Can you say she's a teacher?
She and
Okay.
She's
Look at me. Look at me again. Look at me again. Now we want to say the whole
okay.
phrase, Bernadine. Dean, can you tell me she's a teacher?
She a teacher.
Ah, that's what we want. So, Bernadine, we don't want to give her spoonful word by word. We don't want to teach her that way. That's not going to work. Okay? If you want
okay.
her to speak in phrases and sentences, you've got to stimulate her in 2 and 3 word utterances. Okay?
Okay.
Now, let me ask you a question, Juanetta, okay?
Okay.
Is mama pretty?
Yes.
Can you tell me that
She
mama,
is
can you tell me
pretty.
yeah, tell me again.
Yes, she is pretty.
Good. And is she nice?
Yes, she is.
Nice.
And nice.
Good. Can you now, Bernadine, now you say to her, can you tell me she is nice?
Yes, she is nice.
Very good. Okay. So you want to do 3-word chunks with her. No more than that, Bernadine, okay?
Okay. Okay.
3-word chunks with her. And we'll see you on
All
another
right.
call soon. Boy, you did a good job
Okay.
today. You did a great job
Mhm.
today.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Okay. All right. All right. Oh, man, that was great. I love seeing that. Hi from Saskatchewan. Oh, my goodness. And then we've got June Foster. Okay, so what we're going to do now is let's see who else is on the call. Let's see who else. Let's try. I'm going to try Lynn, even though it says that you've got an X by your name. I'm going to try it one more time. But what I've usually found, Lynn, is I've usually found that if you have a little box with an X by your name, it means that you may not get on. But I'm going to think positively. Let's think positively here. Lynn and I have been trying to get together and speak with each other for a long time. And so we want to have a little meeting of the minds here with Lynn, if she can get on. But I saw a little X next to her name. Usually, so it says it's trying to add her. We're going to wait about 10 more seconds, and then we'll see if she's going to come on. I don't want to. I doubt whether or not there are young adults here. There are older people here. There are younger people here. It doesn't matter how old you are. If you have a speaking difficulty, okay, we can't get there. So let's see who else. Let's bring somebody else on the call that I think that we could get. talking, and let's see if we can bring on, Sherry, I can't speak to you right now while I'm on this call. I would like to speak to you, but I can't speak to you right now. So let's see if there's anybody else. Well, okay, there is. Let's try Deborah. Let's see, Deborah Milliken. We're going to see her first. The X, I don't know, the X means you can't get on there, okay? So let's see if we can get Deborah on the call here. Deborah Milliken. And gosh, this is great. Sometimes it's a little bit disheartening when we want to speak with people, and sometimes you may not have the bandwidth, or you may not have something that may be getting in the way. But we're trying to get Deborah on right now, and we're going to wait about another few seconds, and we'll see if she's going to join us. Gosh, we've had so many good responses from everybody, so many likes and so many shares. So we're trying to get Deborah going, but Deborah's not going. So let's try somebody new who we haven't talked with. I just saw Jean. I don't know if Jean's still with us or not. I just saw him a minute ago. Let's see. Where is he? Where'd Jean? Oh, there's Jean. Jean, I've got an X by you too. For some reason, you got to check your camera and you have to check your bandwidth. And don't forget, you need to be on a cell phone. You need to be on a smartphone. Okay? You need to be on the smartphone. So we're going to try now. Let's see. Who else? Let's try Debbie Hart. But Debbie, we got to make this short. Okay? We got to make this real short. Let's see how if we can get Debbie on here. Debbie and I have communicated in the past. I'm not going to speak about educational problems, though, on this call, only on speaking-related difficulties. I've worked with educational problems and people who've got difficulties at school and difficulties at work, but I'm not going to be speaking on that, and we have a decline on that, okay? So let's try, I'm going to bring Tony on. She's a speech pathologist. Let's bring on Tony, because maybe she can bring some light into our soiree here. And she's an interesting person. Hey, Tony.
Hi, Mike, or hi, Mark. Sorry. Word retrieval.
I'd like to thank you. You've really been out there drumming up business and trying to get people to come on the call and to learn.
Well, I really think that your method is great. It's really effective, and I want lots of people to learn more about it.
So have you learned anything different about dysarthria?
Basically, I guess the thing that I'm really going to stress with my clients is to pause between each word when they're speaking. Yeah.
Yes. Now, something else that helps is some kind of a gesture at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, for those of you on the call, and Tony, I'm sure will back me up on this, working with speaking speed is one of the most difficult aspects of speech therapy that a speech therapist has to address, is trying to get people to slow down. Because usually you can get them to slow down while they're in the room with you, but the first minute they get up and walk out, quite often they fall right back into their old patterns. But when you start teaching people with dysarthria about pausing between each word. That's easier for them. So we hope.
So do you usually use your finger to kind of help them pause between each word?
Yeah, either a finger or the whole arm movement. You know,
Okay.
I used to use fingers like this, but then after a while they'd start going like this. I'd say, "Oh well, I was at that store the other day." Didn't work. Okay,
Okay.
I've found large movements of an arm help.
Now, do you encourage them to do it as well, or just to watch your arm movements?
I want the first minute they walk in the room, I'm talking like this. The second they walk in, okay? The second they walk in, and everything we talk about, I'm doing this.
Okay. Now, are they going to use the arm movements too?
Yes, yes, of course.
So they're going to do it.
Yes.
But then when they're out speaking to other people, would you still encourage them to use arm movements, or you want to fade that?
Well, then we teach them how to like put their hand in their pocket and move their fingers, or put their hand near their butt and just kind of pat their butt as they speak so that nobody sees them.
Yeah, so it's more discreet.
Yes.
Because that could be very distracting to the other person if they're
well, now
their
it's
hand
behind their back. Yeah. This would be. Yes, this would be. Okay, Tony, great speaking and great sharing with you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Okay, great. Debbie Lowhart. Let's try her one more time. And then we'll do one more after Debbie. And it still says, I've got an X next to your name. I don't know what it is. I'm sure it's either bandwidth or it's, you got to be on the cell phone, got to be horizontal, and you have to have your camera on and your microphone on. And when I see those little X's next to your name, you know, 99.9 out of 100 times, it does. Okay, so it looks like that's not going to happen. I'm going to wait about 5 more seconds, and if she's, I really don't like to bring people on where you have that X because it's just fruitless to do that, unfortunately. So let's see if we can get one more. Bring you onto the call that way. You and I will have to speak at another time. Let's try Jean again. Let's try Jean again if we can. And Jean has the X next to his name. And I don't know why. And Dorothy Marie Bryan has an X by her name. So I won't be able to get to you tonight, unfortunately. We're going to try one more. Let's see if Tammy finished eating. Let's see if she finished eating. Let's see. And this will be our last call for tonight. And you want to find out, you want to try calling somebody on Facebook Live or something, and she's busy. So I'm gonna go to somebody now. Danielle. Let's see, Danielle. Let's try Danielle. Let's see if Danielle can come on. We'll try Danielle. And if try one other person, and then we'll call it a night. Guys, I'm sorry for all these hesitations that Facebook has, but there's a reason why it's not adding some of you, and don't take it personally now, okay? So that's not happening either. I'm going to bring Joe on one more time. Many of you know Joe. He's a perfect example of a combination of dysarthria, apraxia, and aphasia. And I'm just going to bring him on for just a couple minutes, and then we're going to finish up for tonight. Let's see if Joe will come on. No, I don't think I can get Joe here. Joe, I can't get Joe on right now. I'm going to try one more. No, can't do that. Tony, Debbie, Jean. Let's try Jean one more time. And if we get the X, then we're going to have to just call it a night. This little guy is. Okay, let's try that. Let's try if we can get Jean on again. Let's see if we can get Jean. Jean. We're going to see if we can get Jean on. Jean? Oh. Hi, Jean.
Yeah.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Fine.
Okay. Where do you live?
Una.
That's right.
No.
And what state is that in? Is that in Florida or is that in Georgia?
Florida.
Okay, good. Okay, very good. And how old are you? How old are you? You're 20? 22? Now, Gene Sr., are you there?
Yes.
Okay, ask him. You know how old he is, right? So I want you to say to him, are you, and then say the age.
Are you 26?
Yeah.
Oh, you're 26. So then Gene Sr., then you say 26.
Senior or
Senior.
junior? Say 26.
Sending.
Very good. Now, Gene Sr., can you say 26 again?
Say 26 again.
Son.
26. 26.
Sending.
20.
6.
20.
All right. Now, Gene Sr., I want you to take your voice and I want you to lift up Gene Jr. right under the butt, and I want you to force home that number. So I want you to say 26.
26. 26.
Pause.
1. 6.
Good.
20. 26.
Zone.
20. 20.
6.
20.
Okay, hold on. Okay, so that's three syllables. 26 is 3 syllables, so it's probably too much. Okay?
Yeah.
It's probably too much, and it is too much. So if you remembered from one of the previous classes, remember the 3 repetition rule. If you've tried to say something 3 times and it's not really getting through, you got to make it simpler.
Right.
Okay? So,
Okay.
so Gene, Junior, what month were you born in? Ask him that question, Gene Sr.
What month were you born in? July.
Good. And what was the date? Was the date July? So Gene Senior, you say to Gene Junior, can you say were you born July blah blah blah? Try it.
Were you born July 28th?
Yeah.
So now you say July 28th.
Shy. Saying.
The 28th is going to be the tough one, Mark.
Okay, so what you do then?
How about 2/8?
Or you could do July, then pause, then 20, then pause, then 8. Okay? Try that. Gene Sr.
July.
Shy.
20.
20.
8.
Good. Excellent. That's called chunking. Okay? And so now we know that Gene Jr.'s at about a 2-syllable level. And that's where we're going to need to that's where he needs to be stimulated to speak at home. And you'll learn how to stimulate 2 and 3 syllables. Okay? For just about anything you need to say to him right now. Okay? So, Gene Jr., I want to say to you, good night.
Joe.
Very good.
Say good. Good.
Good.
Night. Night.
Night.
Good. Now, I want to share something also with you, Gene Sr. There's something that we call successive approximation, and we talked about that in class yesterday. Now, if Gene Jr. says something and repeats something and it's pretty close, a lot of times accept that and keep going, okay?
Sure.
And just know that
Sure
each time you review that, it's going to get better. But sometimes working for perfection could be frustrating both for you and for him.
Okay.
And what I would teach you how to do, Gene Sr., is to get your voice louder and more urgent.
Okay. Yeah, he is 26.
Okay, you two. Well, this has been great. We'll speak again, okay?
You got it. Have a good night,
now.
Mark.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, so that's our class tonight. We didn't get to everybody, unfortunately, but remember that tomorrow morning we have another class. We have another class tomorrow morning at 8:30 Eastern Daylight Time, and we have another class on Thursday at 6 p.m. and on Friday at 8:30 in the morning Eastern Time. Remember, please share these with people that you know. Share them on pages that you know where people with aphasia may be, who may be looking for some answers to helping them speak better or to caregivers who are looking for ways to help their loved ones talk. That's why we developed this. We developed it predominantly for care partners and caregivers, and also for therapists too. So remember that if you want information about learning the teaching of talking, and you do it in a very sequential way. I make it look easy, but it's not quite that easy, and there are a lot of things to learn about it that you can learn by going to teachingoftalking.com, and on the home page you'll see two options of learning the teaching of talking, independent study, or working with me one-on-one. So if you can click on either one and find out how all of that works. And so I'd like to thank everybody for being on the call. It's been a nice experience. I hope you've learned, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye now.